Robin F., as you will spell it, as you interpret it, Brox, is the force behind Saucebox, feminist micro-press and occasional performance series she founded in 2001 in her hometown of Buffalo, New York. Brox's first full-length poetry collection, Sure Thing, was published by Vox Books in 2011. Her poems have appeared in several print and online journals, including Doozy, Delirious Hem, The Buffalo News, and others. And she relocated to the Driftless bioregion in June 2013 and resides at Dreamtime Village in West Lima, Wisconsin, and is happy to call the Permaculture and Arts Eco-Village home. This is our second representative of Dreamtime Village in the past 2 months. We had Mikkel Reed in December, so we're glad to be bringing our West Lima folks out to represent that corner of our region. So welcome, Robin. Come give us a reading.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you all for being here. This is an awesome turnout. I know there are lots of other great things happening in Vioqua this very evening. West Lima is about 25 miles east of here, and my commute into Vioqua to work at Kickapoo Coffee is beautiful. No complaints. For those of you watching online, I know the feed is a little blurry. The word over my head that looks like a blue blob says expand. So I guess we will all expand our minds a little bit. I'm going to read a really wide variety of things. And I would like to dedicate this reading to my friend Fiza Quraishi, who died just a couple weeks ago from brain cancer. She and I met at Barnard College in New York City. It is the women's college affiliated with Columbia University. It's an undergraduate population of about 3,000 women. And I only spent 2 years there, but they were extremely influential. And the people that I met during that time, I might not have remained close with, but they still have a huge impact on who I am as a person and how I conceive of myself as a poet, as a feminist, as a person in the world. So this is a poem I actually had to find the original first draft of because I couldn't find the chapbook that I put it into. So we're reading from a text that was written while I was a student at Barnard, and just sending love and peace to Fiza's family. This poem is called Give It Some Welly, which is a phrase I found by reading the dictionary. Lots of people enjoy that hobby. You look up a word, you keep flipping around, you find other things, and it's British slang related to the Wellington mud boot. So to give it some welly would be, I guess, equivalent to the American elbow grease kind of thing. So this is Give It Some Welly. Burgundy swirling in the glass, sniff and sip, and isn't it fine? The wine, I mean. You're going to miss me, wait and fail to judge my judgment failure, lapse of judgment, reason lost weight, and I fell off into an endless Texas sky, red, redder than blood or burgundy, so red it's black, then red again. It's fantastic to leave here and here again. I'm in love with the old world, so I whirled and blew away across from you. You're going to miss me, wait, and my modus vivendi versus your modus operandi. You quote Sexton and Cummings and Yeats, while I scream at cars, cares gone, weight and weight of rocks and feathers a pound. Watch the window open and blind comes down, blind blizzard outside. You're going to miss me because I know how to drive in snow, and I will always know, no, not nothing is the surface to volume ratio of a sphere or my heart. Weight and the perfect rug, the beautiful low table, glass glittering, all that glisters is in the gift shop and your mother's liquor cabinet. Exempli gratia, glyph of you, of your tattoo, when all I do is carve and burn me out, scars red of rubella rash or flush of trust. You're going to miss me, opening night of our life, live on stage, Madison Square Gardens, this Sunday, someday he, weight and shroud of clouds, set, settling, settled. Love, a Gothic arch, a flying buttress, a Frank Lloyd falling watering can. Mark of my hand in the dust, my feet, toes in the sand. You're going to miss me without a sound, slipping down the QEW, 3 hours. Canada is west of here. Wait, and crossing borders for Chinese food, fleur-de-lis, flesh and blood. God wants to swallow California. It's the cheese. I exhale blue-gray plaid uniformity on the wagon of no meat, no sleep, and I don't control the heat. You're going to miss me, but I don't know how to swim, never be a wetback, water-breaking window looking out of the plastic back seat. Wait and you'll see. Mixing drinks and metaphors like mud and fire. Elevator goes up higher than your apartment door. A friend in need is a drug dealer. You're going to miss me and your father can't hurt you anymore. Walking fast, fastest way home. Wait, and everything is 20 minutes away. Kyrie Greek in the Latin Mass, Our Father, holy whore, soliciting dictionaries door to door. I hit the floor because I got scared and too behind, too blind. You're going to miss me, hissing past the past in juxtaposed trains. The train is coming out of my mouth. Wait, and the tarn reflects the sky, and I look down when you look away. You know I think your skirt is too short for work, but we can we can wade in up to our waists, in wasted breath, breathing up, down, but you're going to miss me, yawning and snarling and covering my mouth to mouth, damn Yankee down south. Wait, and fire great ashes, gray smutch from Henry James, or Ash Wednesday, forehead forgiven. That was 1997 or 8. Thank you. So we will skip forward in time. And I'll read something from my Blaise Vox book, Sure Thing. The Wingspan of Submerged Possibility. And this one is dedicated to Jennifer Moxley, Silvana Costa, and Naomi Loenger. Here an osprey circles to dive, rising luckless and unsatisfied, an exercise in repetition, in the persistence of a desire which demands satisfaction, as the glove slap in a duel. What then is worth such pursuit? Shards of heart muscle turned to puzzle pieces. What struggle more domestic than that at home in the body? A relentless hunger, 2 turns fly over the dusk darkening pond, a pair singular and eternal. The dyad of acceptability, still from the deepening grayscale interval between solo and duet, I wring scrapbooks from my mouth, each tooth, the jawbone, tongue, lips, gums, recording their various intimacies. The broken dock thumps in boat's wake, how honeybees thrust their bodies while feeding, one appetite. Yet what does desire reveal but itself? In each separate act of creation, each chain of chemical reactions, the biology behind love processes, a set of notebooks for poetry, a diary, thoughts recorded in languages known as other, drained wine bottles, shots of whiskey, carafes beaded with the condensation of expectation, more often than not soured. An unreturned phone call, postcards belatedly arriving, pregnant with what is unsaid. Hand on wrist indicates possibility to lead or follow. Aggressive behavior ensures victory as being taken, overwhelmed, a rooftop or stairwell, and kisses, real or imagined, elevate heart rate, release pheromones, neurotransmitters in constant attempts at pair bonding, flawed reason unsupported by the hedonism of the day's polyamorous affairs. Silly rabbit, monogamy is stupid. These and unrepentant erotics, but the dishes must get done somehow, orgasm or not. Defiance preferable to the expected reproduction. Instead, the unborn progeny of genius ferments, expelled in an ecstasy, a lateral pattern, a chain of sensation with loops irregular as the osprey's dive. Its solitary pleasure-seeking complicated by loon calls toward isolation and its end. wisps of smoke and storm cloud, wings wide for elevation, each thwarted attempt at satiation, each success bittersweet. A thirsty reed, skins for tactile learning, overtaking darkness, fatigue, and the hunt ceases. A bird in flight disappearing, desires aftertaste and earned hunger, glass sharp in the shadows. Jennifer graciously mentioned a forthcoming book of mine, Pomegranates. It is still a work in progress. It is a project that combines poetry and photography. There are also some photographs in Sure Thing, so it's something that I do enjoy playing around with, seeing how they correspond. Classically, painting and poetry are called the sister arts, but I think there's something terrific about a photographic image as well. So it's a pretty wide-ranging project. Some of the pieces are visual poetry, word clusters in the vague shape of a pomegranate. Some of them are translations of the photographs. Some of them are inspired by the folklore, mythology, and geography of pomegranates. They're my favorite fruit and have been since childhood, so it's been really a treat to be able to work on this kind of thing. So this one is Kissing the Spear of Xerxes at Foreplay of Impossible Delights. Is it irony or some plea for balance that the spears carried by those Persian soldiers balance the killing end with a fertility symbol? One most likely used to bludgeon an opponent on the battlefield, to kill with all the precious pomegranate blessings of generation and good fortune. Oh, sweet fruit of the underworld, again inverted from delicious fecund symbol to the realm of shades, cursing Persephone with so few seeds, and another layer of meaning accrues. Tart jewels ripen in the northern hemisphere in winter, while she makes her pilgrimage away from all green and growing things. What lips may feast on golden, bloodied fruit in a spirit world soaked in red shadow, ruby arrow kaleidoscope, as eyes gaze starward from an underworld, tunneling beneath orchard groves, what the dead dream the pomegranate knows. So here's one that's vaguely in the shape of the pomegranate. It's kind of like a blob of text that's sort of round. And these are some of the only things that I ever write or perform that require a degree of improvisation. It's not something that I have been into very much in my writing life. So every time it's read, it's different. And if you read it on the page, you can read it however you want. Limb after limb, twisting. Here the bottom feeder, church of endless opening, granite plume. Belief is hot, origins of throat open, lubricant, sugar beet, maker and marked, pound foolish, love under, arrow showers, desire faucet, bottom, rosy, limits shift, singular duality, limb after limb, uplift, subsong of clanging rings, poem is the bodice, leave lost to relish, a rose, a really, that's me begging, devotionary imagination, yours and mine. Knock off, bourbon's heat, overhead projector. Find me here and transpose. Coffee flavored molasses dancer, twisting limb after limb. So this is a little handmade book I did with a poet friend of mine, Nava Fader. We titled it Slant Homestead, and so each poem is nestled into an envelope, a la Griffin and Sabine and others. Nava Fader is a poet who lives in Buffalo, New York, which is, as Jennifer mentioned, my hometown. And she composes poetry by always beginning with a line by somebody else. So she has a collection of poems that start with lines by Adrienne Rich. She has a book recently out where every poem begins with a line by Michael Basinski. So this book has poems that begin with a line that somebody else wrote, and we did most of them 2 times, where she would begin with that line and start a poem, and I would begin with that line and start a poem. So we had a lot of fun. These are really weird. Enjoy. This one is called Under Special Moons, and that phrase comes from Arthur Rimbaud. Under special moons, variable juggling at times, moonstones eggy with a slight sheen your slate of kneecaps, pale rising directional violence in keeping secrets fist to mouth roundlings, asked of their origins, who's deciding, who's acted upon. Anglo-antagonism making pieces of sky shake into smoke, orbital hard-on crushed, with weight of lies, zigzag abalone cufflink, how much longer? How much inert asparagus grass snapped away and traded for a few smooth beads? Pretty girl, curtains cut you in comical halves. Feet waggle and have-nots are somehow cheering. They bought it, the farm, and it was kind of funny plowing the fields and all that. Slim pickings besides white chickens, so much depending upon the present gift, a gliding moment unfolding itself around all the greatest lakes and deepest loves. Seeds rooted in dirt, knees scrape and hands callous. Dawn surprises itself daily by just showing up. I'm going to read a section from a longer poem called Swords, apostrophe S, words. About 50% of this book is lifted from various sources that are listed at the back, and the other 50% I generated. And the fun is you have no idea what's what. So, at the bottom of nocturnal ascent, my sale or theft of myself, will you bring specific flowers I will not know the names of, recognize but fail to label? Let us examine any sides of this, antagonism, the unknown, and you say, be careful, with gentle emphasis. Position the defense and resolution. I behaved like what I am. To join, create, combust, it is from longing my making proceeds. With or against the rules, one shouldn't use the word dream, one shouldn't defer to universal asceticism and social leveling in its crudest form, one shouldn't use the words should and shouldn't. Yet one can, one may, one shall, one ought. Do what? Seek moments of meditation, unself-consciousness, distance from the casual mental state. Being kept brutish and illiterate, unsentimental in the kindest, truest sense. An antique thoughtfulness, busily unused. Pistons and thighs play under suspended clouds, willing illumination, asking a wordless imperative. To become unburdened, cultivate instances when troubled, the heart recovers. That standstill comes to a standstill. Even the water freezes in the tap, attention crystallized. Beetles in amber, buried by time, writing in electronic miscellany, bland corporate pornography, ignorance rather than experience accruing like landfills in layers and the triumph of failing capitalisms seems complete. At least everything that has welcomed you has paid a price, implying a minimum investment and/or an apex of masochism. On the background, an unruly dream where her severed hands writhe not like eels, the tendrils of unfollowed thought patterns, also hiding in darkness, still crossed in a fervent, decapitated prayer for an honorable but ultimately meaningless prize. Believing in preparation but not dress rehearsal, she knows no improvisations, no cultivated ability for rote memorization either. She prefers the capacity for wonder and survival of perplexity. Failing to learn that love of anticipation, you had no hope but the length of days, as in the sky about which I already knew too little. Also, the dividing of hours, tending a garden of distraction gentle as herbs. Apart from this, there was again no revolution of any significant kind, but the insignificant ones, the quotidian spin of breakfast, supper, sex, sleep, the impossible turn of thought, the vine in bud still refusing to flower, the tedious realization of sameness amidst perceived individuality, essence of the thing I am, is the thing you are. And what is in the miracle of my animated flesh, in all live bodies perhaps, that what I cherish is not discrete from any other living organism, fact, act of daily occurrence. To start, you must divulge not a secret but a thing commonly known, a specific truth rooted in experience. No one knew that you tormented a hummingbird of love between your teeth. I may prefer articulation, even more secret once told, though period by period the sentences are bound. Confidences set sail unless or until anchored in an ocean of ink. Here's a tiny poem. It's called Tell. Tell. Let me tell you, change is a verb. If you've ever worked a cash register, you know what I'm talking about. Here's another tiny poem. Do you guys know about found poetry, where you like find a poem in some pre-existing language? So it could be like in an advertisement, in a newspaper article, in a conversation you overhear. This is from a conversation about Gene Kelly. But I think it's universally applicable. And it's dedicated to my friend Deborah Levine, from whose mouth it came. Thighs. The more you think about them, the better they get. The more you think about them, the better they get. So the year that inspired this poem that I'm about to read, I was living in Buffalo, New York. And sometimes you're not known as a city for the right reasons, and Buffalo and Milwaukee have a lot in common. Institutionalized segregation kinds of things, geographical boundaries that divide populations to their detriment. I lived in a pretty mixed neighborhood on the west side of Buffalo. And this poem is called First Homicide for James Jackson. Your body was discovered by a school teacher in the driver's seat, sunroof open to winter at the end of the street. Death must have come quickly, the bullet's comet trail making your life cheap as bags of dope sold on the next block, but granting you the honor of being number one. I mean, I brought such a wide variety, I might as well just go hog wild and have at it, right? This is a poem that was created out of 2 other poems. I took a very interesting series of classes with a poet, Charles Bernstein, at SUNY Buffalo, where I completed my undergraduate studies, and he encouraged us via assignments to do writing experiments. So instead of maybe a traditional write a haiku, write a sonnet, write a poem about a memory kinds of things, we did cut-ups, we did collages, we did 7 up or down, where you replace every word in a pre-existing poem with something from the dictionary that's 7 words away, and then you end up with some things that are complete beautiful nonsense.